Hey everyone, today we're diving into a really big idea. What if social media, for young people, wasn't designed to create outrage? What if its default setting was actually education? Let's get into it. So this is the core question we're going to unpack. It's not just a call for more parental supervision, but for a fundamental shift in how we think about these digital spaces where so many of our kids are basically growing up. All right, here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about how social media has become an accidental classroom. Then we'll look at the algorithm's risky goals. After that, we'll explore a new proposal. Then we'll see the positive ripple effects this could have. And finally, we'll discuss whose job it is to make it all happen. Okay, so let's start with a truth that we kind of need to accept. For millions of young people, platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, well, they're not just for fun anymore. Whether we like it or not, they have become a primary educational environment. I mean, think about it. This is where they're forming their ideas about the world, where they're picking up on social cues and language, where they're finding their community, and even where they're learning, or failing to learn, how to handle conflict. If you spend hours a day somewhere, you're learning, period. And that's the whole point. If it's acting like a school, then it needs the same level of responsibility and safety we demand from any other school. This isn't about being controlling. It's just about acknowledging what this space has actually become. Which brings us to the central problem. This digital classroom we've built, it isn't actually designed for healthy learning. No, it's designed for something totally different. You see, the algorithm's goal is dead simple. Keep you watching, keep you scrolling, keep you reacting. And look, from a business point of view, you get it. But from an educational point of view, it's a huge risk because the stuff that gets the biggest emotional reaction is what gets boosted to the top. Okay, this slide really lays it bare. The current default, which is all about engagement, naturally pushes things like outrage, fear, and us versus them thinking. But a new default, focused on education, would empower the total opposite: understanding, curiosity, and the skills you need to actually solve problems. It's a completely different vibe, a totally different world. So, how do we actually make this happen? Well, the proposal itself is surprisingly simple. It's a two-part plan to basically redesign this whole environment, shifting the goal away from just grabbing engagement to actually empowering young users. It's a real one-two punch. First, you make helpful, constructive, educational stuff the default setting for anyone under 18. And second, you get incredibly serious about blocking the truly harmful stuff. The idea is that hate speech, extremism, and disinformation aren't just different opinions. They're poison in a learning environment. And just to be super clear, educational here doesn't just mean your math homework. It's about life skills. It's about understanding complex ideas, learning how to tell if a source is reliable, figuring out how to handle disagreements, and, learning to see things from someone else's perspective. Now, what's really cool is this concept of discourse ability. This is basically the key skill you need for a healthy democracy. Being able to actually listen, to understand what the other person is saying, and to argue your points fairly. Imagine if that's what social media could teach by default. Okay, let's keep going, because a change like this doesn't just impact one person. It creates these amazing positive ripple effects across the entire digital world. Think about it. When the language you see and hear all day is respectful, that becomes your model. Young users start to learn that you can disagree with someone without insulting them, and you can explain something without being a jerk about it. The way we talk becomes a lesson in itself. And for anyone worried about censorship, this quote nails it. We have ratings for movies and video games to protect kids, right? This is the exact same idea. It's not about silencing people. It's about protecting a space where kids are supposed to be able to grow up safely. And here's the crucial point that people often miss. It's not a trade-off. When you moderate to improve the quality of the conversation, you don't just reduce the bad stuff like hate speech. You actually increase the good stuff. You get better arguments, and maybe most importantly, you build user trust. The whole environment gets healthier. Now, obviously, a change this huge can't just be on the tech companies. It really does take a village. This needs a coordinated effort from everyone, making it a truly shared responsibility. First, it starts with the platforms. They have to admit that they are the architects of these spaces. That means better moderation, sure, but it also means rethinking addictive design choices, like infinite scroll. And it means proactively working with schools and museums to lift up quality content, not just waiting for it to go viral. Okay, next up, policymakers. Their job is to be the referee here.
They need to set clear, enforceable rules of the road for protecting kids online. That means things like demanding audits of the algorithms so we know what they're doing, and having real consequences for platforms that don't play by the rules. Parents, we have a huge role too. But the key is to shift from just being a controller to being a guide. It's less about just confiscating the phone and more about having real conversations about what kids are seeing online. It means modeling good digital behavior ourselves and changing the talk from how much screen time to what's the quality of that screen time.
And finally, schools. They have to be a major counterweight to all the toxicity online. That means getting serious about teaching those discourse skills we talked about, how to check a source, how to think critically, how to argue respectfully. They're on the front lines of getting students ready for this world. So, as we wrap up, it all comes down to this. Are we fighting for a freedom that just means you're free to click on whatever the algorithm serves you next? Or are we fighting for a true freedom, the freedom to actually think for yourself? And that right there is the final takeaway. Real freedom in this digital age isn't just handed to you. It's something you build with skills. The skill to understand, to check your sources, to weigh different arguments, and to talk to people with empathy. Without those skills, you're not really free. You're just reacting. So I'll leave you with a question. If we all agree that social media has become this giant global classroom, what's the one lesson we want it to teach the next generation, simply by default? Something for us all to think about. Thanks for tuning in.